Now, 5 principles to win persuasion in any area of life. It is winning and losing, right? But I believe it's about winning and winning. See, the person across from you is assuming they're losing until you get them to see that they're winning too. So the moment they come across the aisle, it's win-win. But by the time you get to change their mindset by telling stories, giving persuasive selling sentences, and whatever else you're doing with bonuses and offers and making sure it's irresistible enough for them to say yes, they will realize it's win-win and there's no more loss. And you made the sale. But you know what? So did they. But if they say no, and you have something very worthwhile, it's win-lose. They won, you lost, because they made the sale and you didn't, and they're not getting what you got. In effect, I believe it's lose-lose. When someone's objections or roadblocks wins over my persuasion ability, they lost, I lost. And it's a sad day. Now, number 1, verbal persuasion is a learnable skill. That is absolutely true. I'm going to give you a set of persuasive selling sentences, 23 of them for the virtual stage, 23 for the physical stage, and you can utilize them at home as well. Next, number 2, aim for being literate and then being fluent at this. Now, what does literacy mean? Well, let's say you want to learn Mandarin, right? And you're learning it in North America. All right, well, there's a lot of people who speak Mandarin in North America. Mandarin is commonly spoken in China. Probably the most common dialect. Well, if you know 500 Mandarin words, you're literate. You're literate in that language, but you're not fluent. If you went to China, they would know that you learn Mandarin, and you wouldn't have the level of respect that you would deserve, even though you really probably worked a full year to become literate. Now, if you get dumped in China somewhere, right? And I mean, like, let's say Beijing or non-Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, they speak Cantonese, right? So you get dumped in one of the true Chinese cities where they speak Mandarin, and you're there for a year and no one speaks English, because no one speaks English there. They speak English in Hong Kong, but they don't speak English in many of the other Chinese cities. They just don't. They're not bilingual. Well, if you're there for a year, you're going to learn Mandarin. You will learn 2,000 words in Mandarin. And by the time you learn your 2,000th word, you are now fluent. Now, being literate is only 1/4 of fluency. And many people want to be fluent where they're kind of running when they still need to crawl. So I want you to be the same with your persuasive selling sentences. Be literate first. Man, you'll make so much. You will double income being literate. Now, you'll triple income, quadruple, and better yet, double and triple time off when you're fluent. Fluency is unconscious competence. You're just, bam, you're in flow, right? Literate is conscious competence. You're thinking about it and you still don't have all the vocabulary. So go for literacy first and then fluency, right? First walk, then you can run. Many people want to run immediately. And guess what? You get sore that way and pull a muscle. Number 3, memorize persuasive selling sentences. Well, I'm going to give you 23 and 23. There's a total of 46 of them, but you can make your own up. And that's what I want, because once you become literate, you can be fluent with your own, in your own industry or niche. Or even if you're a house dad or a house mom and you don't work because your spouse does, or maybe you're independently wealthy, you can do it inside your household. You can do it at a nonprofit. You can do it online. You can do it with your Facebook group. Next, utilize persuasive selling sentences in your daily dialogue. Practice daily. Practice makes permanent. Don't know who said that. I first heard that from Keith Cunningham, a good friend of mine in Austin, Texas. And then I heard it from Harvey McKay, who is a good friend. And we started a mastermind together called the McKay Roundtable. I don't know who first said it. Maybe Tony Robbins said it. I don't know. But practice doesn't make perfect. It makes permanent. So practice every day. Make it an experience. Look, if you stop doing something, let's say if you stop eating white sugar and white flour and white salt for 30 days, you're not going to need discipline on day 31. You need discipline from day 1 to day 14, in my experience. For some people, it's day 1 to day 7, right? They're very easy, right? If you have a drug problem, not drugging for the first 5 days probably is going to be difficult. But after 30 days, and if you have a support group around you and you're speaking that language, then it's not going to be as difficult. So the discipline of doing this is no different. You need discipline in the beginning, but once it becomes a habit, you go into flow and it becomes natural as breathing. That's why I want to have you use it in everyday dialogue. For example, can you see yourself doing what we are talking about here? Can you see yourself doing that? That's a persuasive selling sentence. Next, aren't you glad we took time to discuss this today? Yes or no? Well, that's another persuasive selling sentence. And then probably the most important of the 5, even though there's a 5-way tie for first place, is have your intended outcome in mind before using your persuasive selling sentence. If you're going to have a trial close or a tested sentence that sells, or I call the persuasive selling sentence, PSS. I think mine is more cumbersome to say, so I just call it PSS, right? You know what PS means, so add another S, right? And so if you're going to do it, you need to know what the outcome is. What's plan? What's point B? So you can't utilize certain sentences if you don't know where you're headed. So you need to know what the offer is. If it's having your children go to bed on time, okay, well then you'll be using certain PSSs. If it's having them eat dinner, then you'll be using another set. So you need your intended outcome in mind before, just like negotiating. You can't negotiate unless you know what your bottom line is, right? Otherwise, you're going blind and playing pin the tail on the donkey with your time and your money with a blindfold on. I like to take the blindfold off and not call it cheating. Now, if you stop here, then this marks the end of your progress. And that's from my heart to yours. That is a PSS. If you stop now, after all this time, if you've been watching, it's been about 50 minutes. If you stop now, then this will mark the end of your progress. If you stop reading now, this will also mark the end of your progress. If you stop listening now, it'll stop the end of your progress. Why would you do it? Why wouldn't you complete it? Why don't you start this process? Imagine what your life will look like a week from now doing this for the next 7 days.